Hello everyone, and today we are finally going to be talking about the ending, the story, and most importantly, the biggest unanswered questions about Little Nightmares 2. Like, what exactly are the glitching remains scattered throughout the game? What the hell is that giant fleshy eye monster at the very end? Is 6 really the lady? And does Mono ever escape his time loop? I will do my best to answer these questions and more in the first of my Little Nightmares 2 theory videos. Before we get into it, I know this is pretty obvious, but there will be spoilers for about every single section of this game. So if you haven't already seen or played the full game yet, then you should definitely go play it right now, because it is a masterpiece. Or if you can't afford the full game or something, you can go watch my 5-part playthrough of it on my channel. I linked it in the iCard or down in the description. Okay, so anyways, let's get into this. Okay, so first let's discuss the game's ending. After Mono and 6 make their way through the Pale City, they finally encounter the Thin Man, a peculiar entity dressed in a suit and hat, with the ability to control the TVs in a very similar way to our boy Mono. Mono and 6 are chased down by the Thin Man, and end up hiding from him in some sort of children's nursery before the Thin Man captures 6 and brings her back to the signal tower. So then Mono begins his long hunt for 6, and finally confronts the Thin Man outside of the signal tower before killing him. After leaving the Thin Man dead in the streets, Mono makes his way inside the tower. Once he has entered the signal tower, he learns that the Thin Man has cast some horrible spell on 6, using the signal tower's magic, contorting her and deforming her into a horrible monster, not unlike the other creatures seen throughout the various Little Nightmares games. Mono soon realizes that the spell controlling 6 is tied to 6's music box. Now 6 loves this music box, and when Mono tries to destroy the box, 6 goes absolutely monkey mode.
Go back, I want to be monkey!
After an excruciating boss battle, Mono finally manages to destroy the music box, returning 6 to her normal state. However, 6 resents Mono for destroying the music box, and when Mono makes a jump across the bridge to escape the signal tower, unlike every time where Mono had jumped, 6 caught Mono. But this time, 6 drops him into the abyss, leaving him to rot in the bowels of the signal tower. Then 6 escapes through the portal in the signal tower, and where does she end up? The Maw, experiencing her hunger for the very first time with Shadow 6 by her side. Meanwhile, as the signal tower is not bound by space or time, seeming to be some sort of pocket dimension as evidenced by gravity being broken and time seeming to slow down at random. So Mono begins to age, growing up into the very thing he feared the most, the Thin Man. Now let's get the obvious stuff out of the way here first. Mono seems to be trapped in some sort of endless time loop, forever doomed to kill his older self as revenge for kidnapping 6. His older self doing everything in his power to try and stop young Mono from making it to the signal tower, to only end up being Mono's very motivation for going there, and starting the endless cycle all over again. Now in the final scenes of the game, we can actually see this monster constructed out of eyes, flesh, organs, and teeth. This thing seems to be what actually resides in the signal tower, and what controls it, 6's nightmare being a fabrication by this creature. So what exactly is this thing? Well, before the game came out, I theorized that this thing was a melded together mass of the flesh and souls of the viewers that had been sucked into the TVs. And the collapsed, contorted look that the viewers have when we encounter them in the game is the first stage of this process where they are sucked into the TVs. And it turns out that I was actually 100% right. In the early concept art for the game, not only can we see the viewers getting sucked into the TVs, but more concept art showcases a bunch of the viewers' bodies falling out of the TVs and all melting together into a mass of flesh and teeth and organs and other grotesque things that we see at the end of the game. So it seems that this monster is a collective hive mind, made up of the combined flesh and souls of the viewers, and encompassing all the greed and evil of the Pale City, and maybe even the entire world. Another thing to note is I don't think the Thin Man is or has ever controlled the signal tower in any way. From the game's ending, it seems pretty clear to me that the signal tower is the one controlling him, using his TV power to advance its own agenda of world domination. More on that later. At the end of the game, the signal tower has him sat down and obedient to it. He is submitted to the tower. I think that the signal tower and the eye monster that lives inside it is far more powerful and far older than the Thin Man will ever be. To get an idea of this, just look at how much the symbolism of the eye has worked its way into the world of Little Nightmares 2. It's absolutely everywhere, in the Maw, the Pale City, and the Nest. And from this area of the school, it seems to be pretty clear that the eye monster has control over the entire world, as evidenced by this map of the world with the eye symbol scrawled all over it, presumably by the children. The signal tower may even have control of the lady, as not only is the eye symbol abundant in the Maw, there are portraits of the lady on the Maw showing her with a single eye covering her face. I think that the signal tower is responsible for all the evil in this world, including the disfigured appearances of everyone living in the world, twisting them and manifesting their darkest traits. Okay, so now one thing I find really interesting about the world of this game is the glitching remains. You know, those little ghost children hidden throughout the game. The only purpose they seem to serve at first is a collectible Easter egg. You find all 17 of them hidden in the various chapters, and you unlock the good ending. Now, a lot of people have theorized that these are the remains of the souls of the other children taken by the Thin Man, as 6 leaves behind a different shadow after being captured, the same shadow that will eventually become known as Shadow 6. However, this theory doesn't entirely make sense. The Thin Man only had a motivation towards capturing Mono and 6 to stop them from continuing the time loop, and wouldn't really have any sort of reason to go after anyone else. So that's why I have an alternate theory, because of course I do. So what if the glitching remains are shadows of Mono bleeding through from previous iterations of the time loop, warping through into this loop? Not only would it explain why all the glitching remain children look exactly the same, and why they all resemble Mono without his trench coat and hat, but also why the glitching remains seem to almost absorb and fade into Mono when they are collected, because they are literally a part of him. They are him from previous versions of the loop. So that would mean that this iteration of the time loop that we play through is the 18th version of the loop, as there are 17 glitching remains in total, the Mono that we play as soon to become the 18th. Okay, so if there have been 17 previous editions of the time loop, then why are we focusing on this one in particular? Well, I think this is the one where the time loop finally ends. Well, it was originally thought that the Hanging Man and the Thin Man were the same character. The ending of the game has led a lot of people to once again separate them as different entities in this story. However, I still believe that they are the same character. First off, in Little Nightmares 1, there were only 5 other characters in the entire game besides 6 herself. The janitor, the chefs, the lady, and you guessed it, the Hanging Man. So since he's one of the only characters that we were introduced to in this universe, he has to hold some sort of significance to this story. It should also be mentioned that the chair that Mono sits in at the end of Little Nightmares 2 looks exactly the same as the chair that the Hanging Man hung himself. So then that begs the question, how did the Hanging Man / Thin Man get to the Maw? As he was clearly in the signal tower last time we saw him. Well, as we've seen, the portal at the top of the signal tower leads directly into the Maw. Now, a lot of people think that Mono is trapped in the signal tower. However, this seems unlikely, as the official description for the Thin Man on Bandai Namco's website says that he is continuing his endless journey, and that he is searching for something, implying that he has been more of wandering around the Pale City waiting for Mono, rather than being trapped inside it. So then if the Hanging Man is the Thin Man, why did he kill himself? Well, here's my theory. What if he killed himself to stop the time loop? What if he realized that every action he took would only make Mono want to pursue him more? so he ended his own life to take away Mono's reason to go after the signal tower, to stop Mono from pursuing him at all, thus ending the loop. I know that this one's a bit far-fetched, but I don't know. It puts a happier spin on the ending of the game if you think that Mono gets to, eventually escape, even if he does end up killing himself. Okay, so now on to quite possibly the biggest question that the ending of Little Nightmares 2 left us with. Is 6 the lady? This question has become quite popular as the game seems to draw a lot of parallels between the stories of Mono, the Thin Man, and 6 and the lady. However, nobody has really yet found concrete proof. There are so many things that line up with this theory, like how the music box looks like the Ma, or why 6 has the same dolls near her that the lady was caressing at the end of the first game, or why 6 hums the same song as the lady. But today, I think I may have found evidence that proves this theory, that proves that 6 and the lady are in fact the same person. A piece of evidence that has been staring us in the face this whole time. The gnomes. We know that the lady is the only one with the power to turn children into gnomes. So then why the hell are there gnomes all over the nest? Or for that matter, why the hell are there gnomes in the attic of the hunter's shack? Nobody has really had an answer to this until now. So what if it was 6? What if 6 had the lady's power all along? Think about it. The only time we have seen gnomes outside the maw are in places where 6 has been for an extended period of time. When we were in the nest, we were separated from 6 for most of the game, but she was there, and so were the gnomes. In Little Nightmares 2, we were with 6 for all of the game, except the part in the hunter's shack, which is the only place where gnomes can be found in all of Little Nightmares 2. So what if, whenever 6 saw other children, she got scared and turned them into gnomes? Like she transformed some of the captive children by the Pretender, or some of the children that the hunter has captured. So then you may ask, why didn't 6 use her powers all throughout Little Nightmares 1? Well, it's because she wasn't able to. We know that Shadow 6 represents a part of 6's soul being gone. So that means that 6's consumption of the lady didn't give 6 the lady's powers, it restored them. As eating the lady, eating herself, would restore her broken soul and fix her hunger, the piece of her soul that had been taken from her by the Hanging Man. Okay, so in today's video, we covered the game's ending, along with a few theories surrounding it. So next I'm going to be covering, everything else. After that, I'll probably do a video on the new FNAF trailer, and I don't just want to do an analysis of it like normal, cause woo, I have some thoughts on that trailer. So thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and I put in so much effort into this video, so if you could just please subscribe, it would really just help to keep this channel alive, so I can keep making videos like this one. And I mean, we are kind of trying to hit, 1,000 subscribers before Social Blade says I will, so, that too. Yeah, if you did actually like the video, please hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.